Let's talk about what everyone's getting wrong when it comes to female anger, because I've never seen it worked with in the correct way. So first of all, we've got psychology, we've got therapy that's going to help you to reframe your anger. It's going to make you a better participant in the game that makes women domesticated. There's rarely any space to express anger, rage. And if there is, it has to be done in a controlled setting, just for a small session. And then you have to go back out in the world and perform again. You reframe it, you use fucking CBT. But very rarely is the entire system called into question. So it's just another way that we're trying to get women to calm down. Have we ever stopped to consider that we shouldn't be calming the fuck down? Calming down is the wrong response to the system. And then we've got all the nervous system practices that are trying to get you to calm the fuck down. We've got nervous system regulation all wrong. The point of it isn't to calm you down. The point is to give you more capacity to feel the full range of human emotion, including the forbidden ones like anger and rage. And then we've got my favorite, the medical system. They try to calm you down with drugs. Okay, you are anxious, have an anxiety pill. You are depressed, have a depression pill. You can't sleep, have a sleeping pill. And I'm not saying you shouldn't use those things as tools, because you are not the problem. The system is the problem and you are living within it. To fully decondition yourself from this system, you need to be in a good relationship with your anger. And then we've got this fairly new phenomenon that you might have seen on Instagram, which is these rage release practices, right? These like ceremonies and these goddess circles where you're releasing your rage together, or you're screaming into the pillows, or you're screaming in the woods, or whatever. These aren't always bad, right? There's nothing wrong with women gathering and screaming bloody murder. But are you going to do that every single time you feel angry? And what's happening in that space is you are massively dysregulating your nervous system, which again is not a bad thing if you have the capacity to hold it. But what I see more often than not is women go into these spaces, they get totally dysregulated usually because some kind of trauma imprint is being activated. They are encouraged and told to scream, to bang the floor, to have a tantrum. And then their nervous system gets completely flooded. And I can see it in their faces. I see women, they come out pale. They look ill. They look shocked. That is not a system that is processing anything. That is a system that's been pushed too far. Sometimes we need to scream. Sometimes we really do need to physically get the anger out. But that is not helping you to come into relationship with your anger. It's giving you a cathartic release once in a while. It's not doing anything about the volcano that you've been holding in for 30 or 40 years. It's not doing anything about that. It's letting it erupt once. Once is nothing. That volcano needs to erupt 500,000 times to empty the stored rage that's in your system. Not only are these rage ceremonies dysregulating, there's too many people in a room. They're not being held properly. It's usually being filmed for Instagram because it sells. It sells because people have been trained to see catharsis, big dramatic releases, as healing. And then we've got the spiritual spaces that just pretend they're not angry. They call it low vibe. They bypass it. They say, I'm not an angry person. I only have love and compassion in my heart. If you're a woman and you're not angry, you are very, very disconnected from your true nature. If somebody said, I never feel happiness, we would call them depressed. But if somebody says, I never feel anger, we congratulate her. Oh, you're such a nice person. Such a good person. You're not a good person. You've disconnected from your true nature because it makes people like you and because you're terrified of your own anger. That's what's really happening. So I've got a story for you. I was dating this guy during lockdown. I'd never actually met him. We were having like a phone relationship. And he said to me, I really want to treat you because you've been working really hard. And when you get home from work tonight, I'm going to call you when you're in the bath and I'm going to guide you through a meditation. And I thought, how lovely is that? I mean, that to me was just like the most amazing gift. So I was like, sure, let's do it. So I was in the bath, had him on speakerphone, and he starts going through that loving kindness meditation. So you start by sending love to somebody you like, and then you send love to somebody you kind of don't like that much. And then you're supposed to send love to somebody you really don't like. And so I'm in the bath and I'm picturing this man that I work with. Now, this guy is probably the worst human being I've ever worked with in my life. He was so rude to me. He used to tell me what to do. He used to swear at me. So I'm like, be a good person. Be a good spiritual woman. Send him loving kindness. And I'm there feeling rage in my body. Volcano is starting to grumble. But I'm doing what he says. I'm sending him loving kindness, trying to force my heart to open, because that's what they tell you you're supposed to do. Because if your heart's not open, you're a bad person. And so we get to the end of this meditation and he was like, how was it? And obviously I went into my people pleasing and said, it was amazing. Thank you so much. It was awful. And what I realized now is what I was doing was trying to force myself to override my anger that was telling me this guy is not somebody you should be around. This guy has crossed your boundaries. He's been abusive. You shouldn't be wasting your time sending him loving kindness. You should be setting boundaries with him. So this is where we come up against this really difficult conflict. When we want to subscribe to religion or spirituality, we have to distrust our body. You can't be connected to that stuff and connected to your physical primal body. It's one or the other. And I know which one I choose. Because to me, the body is the oracle. The body is the truth keeper. The body doesn't lie to you. You might think your body's lying because you've lost the connection and you can't hear what it's trying to say. Or it's buried under something else. But when you really learn how to listen and to come into relationship with your anger, it's going to be your best friend. Anger is not something to get rid of. It's not a problem. We are animals. We are supposed to feel anger. It's protective, it's defensive, and it's your bullshit detector. Your anger is trying to help you in so many ways. But you've been trained to demonize it and suppress it. So maybe we're not dysregulated. Maybe we're just living with a volcano that's desperate to erupt. So if you found that helpful and that was enough for you, then thank you for listening. And if you want to go deeper, stick around. So I have created the Angry Woman process. The Angry Woman process is how. It's the how. How do I come into healthy relationship with my anger? How do I work with this volcano without it exploding all over the place? That's what I do in my work. This is not catharsis. This is not reframing. This is not suppression. This is something else. This is learning how to work with your body and become friends with your anger. And to do it in a way that is actually helping your nervous system come into regulation. This isn't a rage release. This isn't about screaming and crying and throwing things across the room. You don't need any of that. This is how you work with your anger every day, every time you feel it, every time you feel it and you don't want to feel it, every time you try and suppress it, every time you want it to go away, every time it feels like it's going to be too big. This is the process you need to work with your anger. Because the real work happens in the privacy of your own nervous system. It doesn't happen in a room full of strangers screaming, crying and shouting. It rarely even happens in one-to-one sessions. And that's why I'm recording this, so that you can do it in the privacy of your own nervous system. And what we don't want to do is start dredging up all the rage that you've ever experienced. That's not helpful either. We want to work with small amounts at a time so that the volcano can do little mini, tiny eruptions. So the whole thing isn't exploding at once and we're not pushing it down. There's a middle ground here that isn't sexy. It doesn't look sexy on Instagram. It's a middle ground. And that's what I'm going to teach you. So what this practice is not, this is not something to use in a real-time threat situation. This is not something to use when you feel like you're in danger. This is a practice to clear the backlog, to start to clear out that huge volcano of energy that is just sitting in your system, slowly killing you. Because the backlog is huge and you can't get it all out at once in a rage release goddess ceremony. That's ridiculous. This is something that needs to be incorporated into your everyday life. Like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth once and expect them to be clean forever. Repetition. This is controlled completion. Because every time you have felt anger rising and you've pushed it back down, your body hasn't been able to complete the cycle. So this is what happens with nervous systems. There's a cycle, there's an emotion that's triggered, and the emotion needs to come to completion. The response needs to come to completion. When we suppress, we get to here, and then it gets pushed back down. That's trauma. It's an incomplete survival response. So think about how many incomplete anger survival responses you're living with. The angry woman process allows your body to complete the cycle one at a time. And so we're gradually emptying the volcano. We're gradually emptying the backlog so that your body doesn't have to hold on to so much unprocessed anger. This is something you will tap back into over and over and over again. But let me just say who it's not for. This is not for the woman who wants to get rid of her anger. This is not for the woman who thinks her anger is bad or wrong. This is not for the woman who doesn't have any connection to her body. So I say this with love. If you're somebody who can't connect to sensation in your body, or you feel overwhelmed, or you have severe anxiety or panic, this isn't for you. This is an advanced practice that's for people who already have the connection to sensation. So if I said to you, think about a time in the last week where you've been irritated, where someone's irritated you, and you were to just spend a moment and notice where that comes up in your body. If you can recognize that, oh, it's in my chest. A lot of women I work with, this lives in their chest or their throats. So if you can say, oh, it's in my chest, it's in my stomach, great, you can do this practice. If you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? Where do I feel it in my body? This practice isn't for you. It's going to be a waste of your time. This is for the woman who's done the work. You've done the work. You've done the therapy. You've even done the somatic practices. This is something else. This is something to fill in all of the gaps. If that's you, then this is for you. And if not, that's okay. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to continue, I will see you in the Angry Woman process.